Good afternoon from Melbourne and good morning from London, everyone. Welcome to our weekly live session. I'd like to introduce you to two wonderful ladies, Patricia Palka and Kasia Pavlus. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hello, morning.
Hi. Guess what these ladies do? They do what it says on the box, and that is they teach people Polish. So they specialize in teaching Polish as a second language, which is quite a skill. And today we're going to try and dispel this myth that Polish is a very difficult language to learn. In a way, it's true because it is a language that's got a grammar that's quite complex and different to English. But what we wanted to share with you today is 5 tips in how you can make it easier and how you can embrace it. So Patricia, Kasia, what I wanted us to talk about firstly is the value of bilingualism, because it is something that, you know, before we came on there, we were talking about how, you know, I guess when people immigrated, the first thing that goes is the language. People, you know, concentrate on making a living, on, you know, integrating with their new homeland when they immigrate. And often people, especially children, don't speak Polish. But I think there's quite a trend now of actually encouraging kids to speak Polish or being bilingual or trilingual even, because it does really good things to your brain. And we're not scientists, you are teachers, and I'm a celebrity from Polaron. But I think it's great. You know, my own kids speak Polish, you know, maybe not so well as you know, a native speaker, but certainly there's a trend of encouraging bilingualism, and there's a trend of building confidence. I think a lot of people that are Polish background worry that they don't sound quite right. So with that introduction, I'll hand over to Patricia and Kasia to tell us a bit more about Polish not being a difficult language and why it's good to be bilingual.
Yeah, so like you've mentioned, being bilingual, it's very beneficial, and the way how we perceive being bilingual has been changing. I can see it very clearly working in UK, because we have a lot of Polish immigrants there, and I often have people, I say people, not kids, people who have Polish parents, and there are like two groups, one who are like 30, 35, and little kids, those who are 10, 8, or even younger. So it shows how it's been changing when people want their kids learning the language. So those 30, 35 years old students, they started to learn the language now, because now they see how good it is to be bilingual, to know the other language. When before, when their parents moved to UK, they wanted to fit in, and because sometimes probably themselves they had some complex because not being able to speak English well, so they stopped speaking Polish to their kids, and very often kids, they don't speak Polish at all, and now being 30, 35, they want to learn the language, because they know that knowing languages, it's super beneficial. It's amazing when you can speak with others, not English, use their native language. So they are coming to us, they come to us to learn Polish. And because, like I said, it's been changing. Parents now who are in UK send their kids straight away to learn Polish. They usually speak to them at home, but usually it's not enough. If kids are at school and they are exposed to English a lot, they need a little bit of help especially to practice the grammar and proper speaking, because most of them, they do speak Polish, but it's this broken Polish, just few phrases they've learned at home. Yeah, I don't know what's Kasia's.
No, that's good. That's what I was going to ask Kasia. Speaking of children, I know that kids are like sponges, and when it comes to language learning, they just pick things up like that. But is it really true that it's much harder to learn a language when you're an adult? And what is different, if you could tell us, between language learning for kids and language learning for adults. Is
Mhm.
there a difference? And if so, how do we overcome it?
So yes, that is true that it's easier for kids to learn a foreign language, because as you said, their brain is just like a sponge. They absorb everything. But it's still, it's not impossible or really much different for adults to try to learn Polish. Obviously, the methods that we use for kids and adults are different, because kids, they won't stay focused on a topic for an hour, let's say. So the lessons need to be a bit shorter, and they need to be way more fun, as in we need to change teaching methods every few minutes, really, to make it encouraging and make it interesting. Whereas with adults, of course, you need to make it interesting, but they are just going to accept that, you know, that you need to do a bit of grammar, you need to read a bit. Whereas with kids, they can just say, "No, I'm out," and that's it.
Right,
But
so there is patience.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, but like the key is for both instances is just to be patient with it, with both kids and adults.
I'm going to hand over to Patricia again, but I wanted to ask you, is it just a matter of confidence? Because one of the things we're going to be talking in a moment is that building that confidence and what you can do to build it up. But a lot of the clients that I talk to who, so first of all, I should say this, that when you apply for Polish citizenship through descent, you do not need to speak the language. Because it's through blood and you just reclaim it through heritage, and there's no language requirement. But when you apply for citizenship through presidential grant, there is an expectation that you speak Polish, of course. And a lot of people that talk to me, for them, that's a number one barrier to embracing this process, because they're worried that their Polish is not good enough. I was speaking to a client just the other day. He's in Chicago, which is like the capital of Poland, outside of Poland. And he was saying to me, like, there's a Polish shop around the corner from me, but I feel really intimidated to go there and speak. So Kasia, tell us, how do you build that confidence up? And then we hand over to Patricia to continue with that theme, in that what are the 5 tips that we can give to you, our listener, our viewer, to help you build that confidence?
Mm-hmm. So I think the first key to build this confidence is to accept the fact that you need to let go that need for perfection. That well, you will never speak a language fluently without you speaking a broken version of it first. So like, really, the sooner you start talking, the sooner you will reach that conversational level that you will be confident with. And so you just need to accept that you will be making mistakes, but it's just trying to do it with a positive attitude, to do it with a smile, because even when you try speaking with a native speaker, the Polish language in this instance, they will be so over the moon that you are trying, and
Yeah.
it won't really matter to them that you use the wrong case or wrong ending or whatever, because it's just the fact that you are brave enough to speak in the Polish language.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So Patricia, before I hand over to you, I just wanted to mention something that that often stops people from learning Polish, and that is what Kasia just said, in that you're worried how you're going to be perceived. But also, I think it's fair to say that the Polish grandmas and Polish grandpas are pretty tough. Like, they will have no shame in correcting you at Christmas dinner, and they will say to you, well, how come you don't speak Polish? So there's a bit of intimidation, I think, that people of Polish background have towards the language, because what it actually does, it reduces you to a child, essentially, because you're not able, a lot of people say to me, oh yeah, I can understand everything, but I just don't have the confidence to speak. So Patricia, tell us, how do you build that? How do you work on just not caring what you're going to sound like?
But And that's actually what I often say to my students: let yourself to be a child, to learn like a child, just enjoy it. Because for me, the biggest difference between the way a child learn a language, not only Polish, and an adult, it's that a child, it's not afraid to speak and make a mistake. So they try, even if they don't know how, they will try, and that helps them to make a progress. When adults usually were very reserved, we don't want to look silly. Like you said, speaking to a grandma, there's this pressure that we have to be perfect. We will never be like Kasia said. So let's ourselves to be a child when it comes to learning the language, and just make mistakes. And even if we make a mistake, we will learn quicker. That's usually how it works. When we make a little mistake, we will remember it very well, and it's just the matter of not let it stop us to go further. So the first step, like the first thing we should start with, it's to not be afraid to speak, to try even with little sentences. This is what I encourage my students to do from the first lesson. So I encourage them to reply to me in Polish, even if it's just nie wiem or nie. They sometimes feel don't really like saying nie wiem, I don't know, because we are adults, we don't like to use this phrase. But as long as they say it in Polish, it's still practicing.
Progress, yeah.
It's still saying a phrase in Polish. So we should start speaking even the small phrases. Even if we go to a restaurant, even saying dzień dobry, it's always something. That's good morning. Even just saying good morning, that's something. And usually when people finally open up, they go to Poland, for example, they go to a restaurant and they say hello, or they order something and they get the positive feedback. It's like, wow, you know how to speak Polish. And I think it's the best motivation to actually start speaking, because when you see that people appreciate your effort, that they don't expect you to be fluent straight away. They don't expect you to know everything straight away, because Polish, it's not an easy language. So once you open up and just try, people will help you. They will teach you some new phrases, and it will motivate you to try more, to be more open.
Fascinating. And I think I just, as you were speaking, Patricia, I just remember a client of ours. She's from Sydney, and she's probably in her late 60s, maybe early 70s. And she told me that her parents spoke to her when she was a baby. And then as she was growing up, when she turned about 1, I think, they decided to only speak English at home. Because they wanted to integrate, and they wanted to not to sound foreign, and they were really concerned about all of that. And the interesting thing was that when the first time she went to Poland, even though she didn't really have exposure to the language, later on in life, she was able to understand a lot of the stuff. So I think, we know more what we think we do, and it's about having that confidence and unlocking what's locked in our brains. Yeah, would you say?
Yeah, that's true. That's also very important to unlock the knowledge we already have. Oh, usually understanding it's easier. It's just the fact that in our head we sound better than we actually do. But it doesn't matter, as long as people understand what you say. That's your goal, to be able to communicate. And even if you, especially if you are an English speaker, if you struggle with rolling your R, doesn't matter. We don't pronounce all the English sounds properly as well, but as long as people understand what we want to say, that should be the goal. And the perfection will come later. That's something that can be practiced later. But yeah, like you said, we definitely know more than we think, especially when it comes to understanding the language. or Polish language or any language.
And Kasia, how do you deal with your inner perfectionists when you teach? Well, not yours, but your students' inner perfectionists, where you know, there are some people that have this nearly like a barrier, blockade, even blockade, with, you know, for being able to speak, and they think, look, unless I can speak Polish perfectly, I shouldn't try. So, what are some of the tips that you could give us how to overcome that?
Yeah, that is true. It can make people feel a bit frustrated if they are not able to communicate in a perfect way. But I think that in this instance there is a big role of a teacher as well. Because if you as a student find someone who you really connect with, someone that will make you feel respected when you make a mistake, someone that you will know that no one is going to make fun of you if you make a mistake or if you say something silly, because like the teacher should know that the student is there to learn, and that it could be a big deal for some to even start speaking. And if they do and they make a mistake, and if that feedback from the teacher is not positive, they will just shut, and that'll be it. So yeah, so it's good to have someone, teacher or a like a tandem buddy who will acknowledge that your mistakes, but at the same time will make you feel confident with them and comfortable about it.
Right, right, and of course, teaching Polish as a second language is a really different skills than teaching Polish as a native language, right? So you guys are the consummate professionals, as far as I'm concerned, because I think it's pretty hard to do and be able to explain. You know, so I was born in Poland and I grew up with Polish, and I can't explain some things. It's just how they are. But you need to be able to explain the differences and concepts that don't even exist in English, right? So what do you do to be a good teacher of Polish as a second language? Like what sort of skills do you have to have apart from patience and wearing a halo of a saint over your head?
So, to be able to teach the language as a second or a foreign language, it's you actually need to learn it exactly the same way as your students do. So as a native speakers, we understand the language. We both studied Polish language, Polish literature, so we know the grammar and everything perfect. But it's not the way that our students learn, because some things are obvious for us. So when we were prepared to teach it as a second language or foreign language, we had to go through exactly the same process as our students go, learn the cases exactly the same way, memorize the endings and so on. And because we know how much work it is and how much time it takes to memorize everything, even if you are a native speaker, so it's even sometimes even harder if you are a foreigner. So that's why I think it helps us to be patient, and it gives us the understanding of the language on a different level than native speakers. It happens very often that my students, they ask their partners, why do you say it like that? They can and the partners, they can tell the correct form but not why. So it's always ask Patricia, she will know, because it's always this this answer, because we understand the language the way as the way not native speakers, foreigners need to understand, need to learn it.
And you're able to explain it, of course, really well. Now, this is the second time I'm interviewing you, but this was in another setting. So what I was hoping that you could tell us, Patricia, is the story which I find absolutely delightful, and the story of commitment of a guy who learned Polish behind his wife's back. Could you tell us what happened?
Yeah. It was at the beginning of my career when I came to London for my internship. In the group, there was a guy who wanted to learn the language for his girlfriend, his future wife, but he didn't tell her about it, so it was a secret. She had absolutely no idea that he was learning the language until the day of their wedding, when he did the speech in Polish, and it was amazing. It's amazing commitment. That's one thing. And the second, it's really difficult to be able not to react if you understand the language, because he could hear her speaking, or he could hear the family, and he could understand, and he was happy about it, but he had to pretend that he has absolutely no idea what they are saying. But yeah, I think it's amazing surprise to speech in Polish, and then be able to speak to the family. And it's also very good motivation to go with the course, yeah, with learning.
And Kasia, what other tips could you share with our audience about building confidence, or you know, getting over that initial hump of just feeling like a child?
I think, well, the more you will practice, because okay, if you are afraid to speak, it's could be also because you are lacking the vocabulary. So if you're not confident enough to speak just yet, try listening to Polish music, Polish podcasts, or find Polish TV series on the streaming website and watch it with subs, so you can expand your vocabulary, and that will also help you to listen to the language, to hear how it actually sounds. So if this perfectionist is in you, you can hear how the how native speakers pronounce the sounds like more a lot of times before you actually start speaking it. And it might be fun as well to like to discover this new like podcasts or TV series as well, or even the YouTube videos, because that will as well make you bit more interested in Polish culture. Because if you start treating this learning process not as an obligation, but something that actually excites you, the results will be much better. Or if you're not feeling confident enough to speak or to watch this TV series, because you think that might be too much, you might feel overwhelmed. Just you can start with simple things like, for example, if you're a gamer, you can start with the small step, like changing your PlayStation settings to Polish. So then you will have this some kind of vocabulary then there. Or if you're interested in sport, you can try checking the sports football results or football highlights in Polish. Small things like that. There's really a lot of things that you can do to develop yourself before you actually start speaking, and this before process will slowly build your confidence, and you will be able to speak.
Because it is a bit like building a house, right? So you have to start with a really good foundation. Exactly. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes, and I also wanted to say that I always say to my students, first write it down, because writing it's easier, as in we have time to think what we want to say. We have a time to find the vocabulary, the right word we want to say. And once you write it down, once you see the structure of sentences, what you actually want to say, it will help you to remember it later. Write down what you did today, what you ate, or what you like to do. Write about, introduce yourself in Polish first on paper, and then try to use it speaking to others. It gives you the confidence, because you know already what you want to say. Sometimes when it happens in, like, I think in any language, it has happened to me many times when someone ask me, oh, I've heard you learn, you've been learning Romanian, and I say, yeah, I have, and they say something, and it's like blank. I can't even introduce myself because the pressure. But once we know we have something we can like relate to, yeah. I remember I have written down this few sentences. I can use them. It helps. A lot of my students, they do it about their weeks or days, because at the beginning of the lesson I always start with a small talk, and they know that I will ask them, oh, what did you do during the weekend, or how was your week, this sort of. So they prepare a few sentences to say. Later they I've noticed the change. Later they just think of it on the way to our lesson, and when they are more advanced, it's okay, they just say it. And they even start asking questions, because this is how the conversation, the ability to have a conversation works. So you start with answering the questions, then slowly you learn to ask questions, and then there is this the exchange of information. So starting from writing down what we want to say, and to let yourself like see the structure, especially those little words, prepositions, pronouns, the ending cases in Polish. It's really helpful as well.
Very interesting.
And also, yeah.
No, I was just going to say that we've got about 4 minutes for questions, but what I just wanted to lead with is that the way that we study languages has also changed. Because I remember, I'm not that ancient, but let's say, primary school, we had to learn Russian. And I studied Russian for 9 years, like 9 years of my life. And look, I can read it, I can understand it. Speak it is another thing. But I think the methods are more modern, and they're more aligned with people's learning styles, preferences, and we're more flexible in how we teach. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's true. Plus, with the modern technology, there are so many language apps we can use.
Yeah, tell us more about that.
Yeah, I think the most popular one is Duolingo. We also have Memrise. We have Babbel, and many other apps. And they've been changing as well. So I remember at the beginning it was mostly about listening and typing the words, so memorizing the vocabulary. But recently they've started to add speech recognition. So they ask you to say it, and and those apps can tell whether you pronounce it correctly or not. Although sometimes they are too they expect too much from people. Exactly, they expect them to say things perfectly. And also there are apps that help you to learn Polish or any other language, and also do what you like. Like for example, one of my favorite apps recently, it's lyrics training. So you can listen to Polish music, you see the lyrics, and you fill in the gaps, which means you listen to Polish music if you like it, and then just go through the lyrics and recognize the words. You can learn it. You can also do karaoke with it. There are different levels. The same song, you can do it on different levels. So for the beginners, you have only like 5 or 10 words with the 10 gaps.
Right.
When you're more advanced, it's more and more. That's actually something we've been doing. So on our website, you can find this sort of exercises when you listen to Polish music, Polish carols, kids songs, and just fill in the gaps. It's fun, and also a way to learn something new.
Right. So before I hand over to questions, because there are quite a few, Kasia, just lastly, so would you say that the best way to learn Polish is firstly to commit yourself to the exercise, reduce yourself to a child, but then have a very good feature and potentially get some apps or at least start listening to Polish? Is that a good summary, do you think?
Yeah, that's exactly what you said. So don't be afraid. Find a good teacher. Practice daily, and write what you want to say first, then move to speaking. Try using all the apps that are out there, because they're just waiting there to be used. But yeah, mostly I think the most important thing is just don't be afraid. Just go for it. Just imagine you are a child, you're learning new thing, and just go for it. Just dive in.
That's excellent advice. I'll hand over to Andrea now, who is working behind the scenes very hard for us for any questions.
Thank you. How can I get in contact with Patricia and Kasia?
We knew we were going to ask that. Patricia, over to you.
Okay, so you can email us. It's go.polishlanguage@gmail.com, or you can visit our website, go-polish.co.uk. I think we can write the email and the website in the comments. So,
yeah, we will. Yeah.
You can, yeah.
Yes.
You can always get in contact with us too. Yeah.
Yes, I'm gonna leave a comment on the comment box with your contact details.
Thanks, Andrea.
Perfect. Following, so the next question will be, is there Polish accents or words that are only masculine or only feminine?
So in Polish, we do have genders, and what do you mean by accent?
I definitely get it.
Not sure what
exactly,
this
because
person referred to, but he said like Polish accents. Yeah.
Okay. Because I wasn't sure whether it's about the genders in Polish language or the way men and women speak, because there is a difference between it. In a past tense, we use different form of verbs. In a present tense, we use a different form of adjectives. So there is, if the question is about a different way of speaking for men and women, yes, we use different forms.
I should add here that Polish actually got 3 genders. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
But those 3 genders are for nouns, 3 different nouns gender. But when it comes to the way we speak, there are only 2 ways, because we are either men or women, so we use different forms, which is very important, because if you're a man and you listen to your partner speaking Polish, it's not necessarily the way you should speak.
Right.
It's very common also when it comes to kids.
And
if we have siblings.
On that note, I should just say here to the Polish is pretty much a homogeneous language, as in, it doesn't really have accents. It has a few regional variations, but not really that diverse. So you can't actually tell, or not often, where someone's from. So you can tell the difference between New Zealand English or American English and Polish. There's if you really listen, you might be able to pick up, because there's some vocab that's a little bit different. And if someone's from Silesia or from the mountains, you can probably pick up that they have a bit of a dialectal accent, and also the east of Poland. But generally speaking, there are no accents in Polish that are that can tell you apart from others.
Yeah, when it comes to like the language, the accents in Polish, no, there is no.
But there is such a thing as advanced Polish, and this is another thing that people are often intimidated by. So if they, let's say, listen to TV news, that's mostly spoken in a very high level Polish. And when you get, I know that Polish TV loves this talking head debates and Q&As, and sometimes if I do get to watch it, I'm like, that's a bit advanced. Like, what are they trying to say? So I think that can be a bit intimidating, because it's like the formal Polish that some people like to show off with, I have to say. Like there's no, like in English we have, for example, this trend to make everything simple, to simplify, to speak in active voice. Polish is the exact opposite. The more complicated the language, the more important you are, right?
I agree.
Yes.
especially when it
Yeah.
comes to the formal language, or if we have some documents for formal legal documents,
Right.
it might be a little bit intimidating, even for native speakers. So
Yeah.
don't worry if you don't understand the news, everything what they say. If you are trying to read a legal document and you have absolutely no idea
Nobody does.
what it says,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Because
Even native speakers struggle with
No,
it a
I
lot.
wouldn't
Yeah.
have any idea about legal documents. No, just start simple.
Yeah, Kasia, I was going to ask you just a very quick question that's come up
Yeah.
with people that immigrated out of Poland as children. Do you ever have a chance to work with them? Because what I hear from them is, I went to Poland after 40 years of living outside of Poland, and I understood nothing. There's not one word that I can get because the language has changed so much. Have you ever had the opportunity to work with someone like that at all?
Well, sorry. So the question is if like the language has changed
Right,
within
right.
the
So
last years.
yeah. So the question is, if someone
Mhm.
was a child when they immigrated and they want to reclaim that language, but what they're finding is that it's changed so much that it's really difficult, particularly the formal language that we're talking about. Have you ever worked with someone like that, and what are some of the strategies to improve that?
So yes, I mean the language, it develops like all the time, but I wouldn't say that there is that big difference that you would suddenly want to understand anything. Like you can especially you can hear those differences in slang words. So how young people speak, because there are some words that well, I'm not old, but sometimes I have no idea what teenagers are saying. Like yeah, some words I generally need to Google, but like in like in a conversational Polish, no, I think you should be fine. It's rather standardized. It's not.
Yeah,
It's
no, I think there was a little bit of exaggeration in the comment, but I guess
yeah.
what they're trying to say is that there's a lot of English in Polish now, and also
Yes,
the
that is.
formal, the high level Polish that's pretty tricky. Andrea, any more questions?
Yes, there's one more question. This one for Eva. So, do I need to learn Polish to actually apply for a Polish citizenship?
To apply for Polish citizenship, yes. To confirm your Polish citizenship, no. So if it is done through descent, in other words, if you qualify through blood, or if you can reclaim it by confirmation of citizenship, there's no language requirement. But if you're going to apply through presidential grant route, then yes, you do need to have basic level of Polish. There's no test. But I think the other thing, and certainly Patricia and Kasia have made that point a couple of times, is that speaking the language does bring you closer to the culture. You understand things so much better. You can reconnect at a deeper level. It's to do with your identity. It is to do with your heritage. And it's a really cool thing to use to show off. And if you have a husband or wife that are Polish, they'll never be able to speak behind your back. So I would encourage everyone very strongly. Yeah, go Patricia, yes?
Yeah, I wanted to say that it will help you to understand them better, because very often speaking English, we translate our Polish thoughts, and quite often people say that we can be very strict and even impolite. It's not like that. It's just how the language works. And very often when I speak to my students, especially when we go through grammar and some structures, and I explain them how we say it in Polish, and they have this aha moments, like, oh, now I understand why my wife always says it this way in Polish, or why my husband makes some mistakes. And the basic thing, the verb to have. In Polish, we have one verb, to have, to need, to must, which means that in Polish we in English we sound like we're very bossy, because we used to have a lot, because we have one word exactly. And then it's like, oh, now I understand why my partner says you have to do this, you have to do that, when they think you need. They
Of
translate
course.
it from Polish.
Of course.
Yeah.
And the other thing I'll just finish up on before handing over to Kasia and Patricia for final goodbyes and reminding us again of your website is that you don't ever say to anybody unless you borrow it, yakshimash. That's just not something you do, right?
Yeah, that's true. And we don't even use the phrase yakshimash, which is very funny. We just say co słychać, how you've been doing.
Right.
And it's only with people who we know. And that's actually something we'll talk about on a group lesson today. So if I can once again to invite you to join the Polaron group lesson. Today we'll talk about formal and informal Polish. So yeah, I'll tell you when we say how are you in Polish to people, what's the difference between the formal conversation and informal. So if you like to learn more about those two types of conversation in Polish, please join the lesson today.
Yeah, and again, we'll put that. Yeah, we'll put that
Sorry,
in the comments. Yeah, go.
Sorry. I just wanted to say quickly that if you can't join today, we will be doing the same session for you on the Saturday.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And Kasia, I'm going to give you the last word, and that is not really linguistic, anything linguistic, but if somebody does ask you yakshimash, that's an invitation to complain, isn't it, in Polish?
Yes. Yeah,
Right.
when you ask a Polish native speaker yakshimash, be prepared to hear the story of their day, week,
Of
or
their
even
lives.
life. Yes, yeah, be prepared for a long conversation just with that one question.
Right. Guys, you've been amazing. Thank you so much for spending your morning with us. Thank you, Patricia. Thank you, Kasia. Anybody that wants to dive into Polish, these are the people that will teach you. They're very strict, but very fair. No, but honestly, they really professional and they very, very patient. So we've got a number of clients that are going through Patricia and Kasia, and the feedback's been phenomenal, very, very positive. And what they said, look, they have so much patience and they explain things so well. So if you've ever thought about studying Polish, now is the time. Thank you very much. And we'll see you guys around. And good luck with language learning. Comments about where to find Kasia and Patricia will be in the comments or links. And if you want to have more information, feel free to contact us. And thank you so much for your time, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.